So, by a show of hands, who here is creative? Ooh, this is Austin, Texas. So I'll reframe it a slightly different way. Who here was a child once? I'm always amazed how long it takes some people to put their hands up. So I bought my nephew a bicycle many years ago. He was about 4 or 5, and I bought him the Lightning McQueen bike. I worked for Disney for 30 years, so I bought the Lightning McQueen. It was metallic, it was shiny, it was red. It was for Christmas, and it came in this gigantic box, gift wrapped, and he got it out from underneath the Christmas tree, and unwrapped the box, and took the bicycle out of the box. What do you spend the rest of the day playing with? Why? Yeah, he could make it anything he wanted it to be. It could be a castle, a fort, a Barbie house, a kitchen. At what point in your life could you not see the Barbie house or the fort anymore? At what point in your life do you only look out and see clouds? You can't see the elephant or the dolphins. Usually it's about first grade when you're about 6, and somebody points at you and says, "You're not creative." And then you're told that probably 30 times in your lifetime, "You're not creative. The creatives work over here." But we were all a child once. Children think very expansively. We think very reductively. Our education teaches us to only look for one right answer. Edward de Bono coined the phrase lateral thinking. He said that your brain is like a mountain, and with each one of life's little raindrops that fall on your brain, you get a new experience. Over time, that builds into a stream of recognition. And as you learn to read and write, you go to school, you learn how to count, you learn how to play nicely with the other children, and then it builds into this river of thinking. And so for me, it was 25 years at Disney, primarily in public relations and then with innovation creativity. And over time, my river of thinking got wider, deeper, and faster. So how wide, deep, and fast do you think my river of thinking is on Disney? Pretty wide, pretty deep, very fast flowing. Same as yours, in whatever it is you're an expert in. And it's why you're employed. It's why your employer hires you, because 95% of the time they want you to be in your river of thinking, your river of expertise. It's also the single biggest barrier to innovation, is your own expertise. I worked with some automotive companies before Christmas last year. Their biggest challenge is they've got 150 years of expertise in how to make a car. And their expertise tells them the steering wheel goes there. Now you have Google and Apple coming into the market saying, "We have no idea how to make a car, and by the way, you don't need a steering wheel." So who will be around 10 years from now? And so it's about thinking like a child again, not childish, but childlike. Let me ask you, invite you, if you will, to close your eyes for just a minute. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd ask you not to think about it, but to shout out an answer, the first thing that comes into your mind. Where are you usually, and what are you doing when you get your best ideas? Shower, beach, working out, running, car, sleep, waking up. Done this thousands of times, never heard the following 2 words. At work. So close your eyes again, and I'd invite you to be as honest with yourself as you choose to be. The good news is you don't have to tell anybody about it. Picture the last verbal argument you were in with somebody. When you can see it in your mind's eye, open your eyes so I know you can see it. So the argument's over. Fred, I can't believe you blind copied my boss on that email. I'll never work with you again. You storm out of the office. You've got to storm if you're going to leave the office. Yeah, you slam the door. You're angry at Fred. He blind copied your boss. You're furious. You get in the car, drive across to your local coffee house, get your cappuccino, sit down. You're relaxed. 5 or 10 minutes after the argument's over, what just popped into your head? The killer one-liner that you wished you'd used during the argument. Oh my God, if I'd have said that. Oh, if I'd have said that. Oh, if I'd have said, oh. And it's the perfect line and you've got nowhere to go with it. It's so frustrating. Does the perfect one-line ever come to you during the argument? Always 5 minutes afterwards. Why? Because your brain is, because being in an argument is the same as it is as being in the office. And most of us live our lives in busy beta. The door between your conscious and subconscious brain is firmly closed. Your brain is only 13% conscious, it's 87% subconscious. Every bicycle ride you've ever been on, every meal you've ever eaten, every place you've ever visited, every textile you've ever felt, every person you've ever kissed, even the ones you choose to forget that keep popping up on Facebook every now and then. They're all back there as unrelated stimulus to help you create new ideas. But if you're in busy beta, which most of us are most of the day, you can't access your subconscious brain. And just by being playful, such as when you're in the shower, riding the bike, walking the dog, commuting, you open that door and allow yourself access to both your conscious and subconscious brains. So playfulness is extremely important, because otherwise we hear ourselves say, I don't have time to think. And when you don't have time to think, you can't come up with a killer one-liner, and you can't come up with a big idea. The other one, for those of you who said falling asleep or about to wake up, thoughtful theta. It's that stage just before you fall asleep. Thomas Edison, does anybody know the expression when the penny drops? It's that eureka moment when you get the big idea. Thomas Edison used to practice thoughtful theta. He would sit in an armchair at night time, put a penny between his knees, a tin tray on the floor, and he would fall asleep. And as he fell asleep, his muscles would relax. The penny would drop onto the tin tray. He would wake up and write down whatever he was thinking. And you could think, well, that's nuts, I'm not going to try it. He had more inventions patented in the 20th century than any other inventor. Dali fell asleep against his easel. As he fell asleep, he would fall over, and he would wake up and sketch whatever he was dreaming. Of course, I wonder what he was smoking before he went to bed, but he was not an unsuccessful artist. So if those of you who get your best ideas before you go to sleep, or when you're about to wake up, think about keep it simple as keeping a notepad by the bed. The other thing that children do extremely well is they challenge the rules. They ask, what if? What if I turn this mud pie into a castle? What if I eat the mud pie? Walt was the master of using what if. Very simply, you just list the rules of your challenge, imagine a world, ask what if those rules didn't apply, and imagine if they did. So Walt in 1940 created Fantasia. It bombed at the movie theatre office. It was acclaimed a critical masterpiece. And Walt listed all the rules of going to a movie theatre. It's dark, it's dirty, you have to go at a set time, have to watch the previews. I can't control the environment. So he said, what if? What if I could control the environment? Well, that was an absurd suggestion in 1940. Walt didn't own the movie theatres. So he said, well, okay, imagine a world where I might. Well, what if I took my movies out of the theatre? If I took them out of the theatre, they couldn't be two-dimensional anymore. They'd have to be three. What if I made them three-dimensional? What if they made them three-dimensional? Well, the princesses couldn't live next to the pirates because people wouldn't be immersed in the story. Oh, I know, I'll put the princesses in Fantasyland. The pirates, I'll chuck them in Adventureland. Oh, I know, I'll call it Disneyland. Very simple tool. Fast forward 50 years, we wrote down all the rules of coming to a Disney park. You have to buy a ticket, have to agree to character, have to go on a ride, have to eat lunch, have to rent a car, have to stay in a hotel room, have to stand in line. If we'd approached this project from how might we make more money, we would have iterated, not innovated. But because we turned it on its head and asked, what if the biggest consumer pain point didn't exist? What if there were no lines? That in 2008 was an absurd suggestion. We said, imagine a world where we might. Fast forward to the year 2016 and the invention of Disney's Magic Band. It's an RFID technology already existed, we just put it inside a piece of plastic. Now you touch your room key, you don't have to check in. You swipe, you don't wait in line to get to the park anymore. You reserve your favourite attractions or character meet and greets in advance, you swipe and go. You tap your item of merchandise once, it goes to your hotel room. Twice, it goes to your house. You save your food on your smartphone, and when you walk into the restaurant knows you're here, you touch table 47, food comes fresh to you. Again, we would only iterate it if we started with how might we make more money. As a result of saying how might we solve the biggest consumer pain point, the average guest now has 2 hours free time a day. And what do you all do with your free time? You spend money. Right? So biggest revenue driver of anything we've created in the past in the last 10 years without major capital investment on an attraction or a show. Real data, this is real data. Every second of every day the consumer is telling us what they like and what they don't like. And all future products and services will be based on what the consumer is telling us today. All by just starting with asking, what if? Words can also be remarkably powerful in setting up a creative challenge. Asking how else might I? If I was going to open a car wash in Austin, Texas, what would I need to put in my car wash? What do you need to put in the car wash? Water. What else? Soap. What else? Brushes. What else? Towels. Vacuum. So water, soap, brushes, towels, vacuum. What if I opened an auto spa? What could I put in my spa? What could you put in the spa? Massage therapist. Alcohol. Coffee. Wax. Could be for the car, could be for the people. Right? Masseuse, barista perhaps. In 60 seconds, all I did was take you out of your river of thinking of what should be in a car wash and just ask you what could be an auto spa. Walt was the genius of doing it. In July 17th, 1955, when he opened Disneyland, could have called them employees, didn't. Called them cast members. They cast for a role in the show. They wear a costume, not a uniform. They work on stage or off stage. Just by that simple re-expression of somebody's form of employment, he created the single best guest service anywhere around the world. I was in a meeting up in New York about 5 or 6 years ago now, and I was waiting for my appointment, sitting in the reception desk, and just chatting to the young lady behind reception for about 15 minutes. She was delightful. She was the most empathetic, friendly, wonderful person I'd ever met. When I got upstairs, I asked Simon, I said, "Hey, you're a receptionist." She was delightful. I was chatting to her for 15 minutes. And he said, "Oh, well, that's funny." I said, "Well, why is that funny?" He said, "We don't have a receptionist." Who on earth? Who was I talking to for the last 15 minutes? I said, "Well, I think her name was Sarah. She had a cream blouse and a floral skirt." He said, "Oh, Sarah." He said, "Yeah, she's our director of first impressions." Right. Just re-expressed her challenge. I'm sure you have projects that you work on, like the project, the Increase Hispanic Market project. How exciting is that? Project Vamos. Oh, I want to work on Project Odyssey, or what's that? Oh, I can't tell you. It's human nature. Just by re-expressing a challenge, you can get people to a completely different place. The other thing that children are is remarkably curious. Curiosity. Let me ask you by a show of hands. Let's see. How many of you go to your favourite restaurant 2 or 3 times a year, perhaps with a loved one, and you get the menu? You read all the appetizers, you read all the main courses, you read all the desserts, and then you order the same thing you order every time. Mine's chicken tikka masala. Who sleeps on the same side of the bed every night? Even when you're in a hotel room by yourself? We are sad creatures of habit, people. You ever driven home or taken the bus, the taxi, cycled, walked, and when you get home, there's that split second where you look at the front door and think, "Oh, how'd I get here?" Here's what happened on your way home. Your brain shut down. It knows the supermarkets you're going to go past, it knows where the traffic lights are, it knows where the homeless person might be, and it just shuts down. It's bored. No fresh stimulus in, no new ideas out. And so BMW, once a year, they give their engineers a project to work on, but it has to be something the engineers are passionate about, but it can't have anything to do with the automotive industry. And about 20 years ago, they worked on devising a new cappuccino machine with a steam injection system that actually worked to froth the milk. Out of the cheap steam injection system came a new learning, which they created a fuel injection system for the BMW 4 Series. Hasbro gives their employees $10 twice a year to go buy something and put it on their desk, but it can't be a toy, just to spark a conversation. Steve Jobs created the entire Pixar campus at Emeryville around unplanned collaboration. It was about bringing people together who wouldn't normally meet, to have a conversation they weren't supposed to have new ideas. We use naive experts all the time. A naive expert is somebody that you invite to your session simply because they don't know what you're working on. Diversity in corporate America today is political correctness. What I've been humbled and really humbled by in the last 6 years, diversity is innovation. If somebody thinks differently from you, they will not necessarily help you solve your challenge, but they'll ask the silly question that you're too embarrassed to ask. They'll throw out the audacious idea that you're too proud to throw out. And they'll get you to think differently. We invited a chef from Hong Kong Disneyland in to design a retail dining and entertainment complex with all the Imagineers, the architects. And I gave them 7 seconds to draw a house. And if I gave you 7 seconds now to draw your house, I know exactly what I'm going to get back. You're going to put the square, you're going to put the door. Where's the door? In the front, in the middle. Where are the windows? They're above on either side. Do they have a cross on them? Hell yes. And what shapes the roof? It's going to be a triangle. And they all turned it around and they all had an identical house, except the chef. chef had drawn dim sum architecture, which none of us had ever seen before, was the round dim sum bamboo dish that your food would come in, with a prawn ball and a pork ball and a piece of steam coming out of a chimney. Everybody laughed because they realized they stayed in their river of thinking of what a house should look like. He'd got them out of their river of thinking and thinking differently. That was his job. On the way out the door, somebody just slapped a post-it note over his picture, and it said, "Distinctly Disney, authentically Chinese." 7 years later, the strategic brand positioning for Shanghai Disney Resort became Distinctly Disney, authentically Chinese. The boardrooms of most corporations are run by 55-year-old white men who are more concerned about their retirement, their shares and their pension than they are about the future of the company. And guess what? They can only think like 55-year-old white men. The amount of companies that artificial intelligence is going to take out of business in the next 10 years because they only think like 55-year-old white men is terrifying. And we need more diversity on our boards. And diversity, again, is not political correctness, it's innovation. People who think differently from you will get you out of your river of thinking and thinking differently. The final behaviour that children exhibit remarkably well is bravery. I don't know if you saw the video doing the rounds on Facebook recently. This little kid jumping on a box, and he fell off the box probably 100 times. And I thought he was going to break a limb here or there. And he just kept going and kept going and kept going until he landed on top of the box. Children are remarkably brave. We are not. Thinking, again, not childish, but childlike, and being brave. And what I'd like to do is to demonstrate bravery. I'd like to finish on bravery. What I'd like to do is, I thought I might get a volunteer to come up on stage. We're going to sing Don't Go Breaking My Heart by Kiki D and Elton John. It's 1973. You could be Elton or Kiki. Hang on just a second. But thank you. But because I was first speaker, I thought, oh, they're going to be nervous, they're going to be shy, nobody's going to play along, but thank you. So I thought, how will I get a volunteer? So, and no, you may not look until the count of 3. But I got in here first this morning, because I was the first speaker, and I put a post-it note underneath one chair, and it simply says, "It's you." And you and on the count of 3, I'd like you to look, and if it says, "It's you," I'd just like you to come up and sing with me, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, relax, people. I would not do that to you at the first thing this morning. I just wanted to put... You all became very British. Oh my God, please don't choose me. Who is the bravest animal in the jungle? Not so, the humble butterfly, the one that you were feeling in your stomach, the 10-foot one, right? When was the last time you felt like that at work? If you haven't felt like that at work recently, you will be unemployed in the next few years and your company will go out of business. It is about being brave and innovating. Innovation was cool 5 years ago, now it's about survival for most people. So I will just finish with my favourite quote, which is the opposite of bravery is not cowardice, it's conformity. Thank you very much.